Kind of fun. I know we wanted to talk about technology and stuff today, and I was thinking this morning before we jumped on, how I mean, think back 15 years ago. Would we even be able to do this? Would we even be able to have a video call from across the globe? And when you look at where smartphones and stuff has come from, it's fascinating to see, and it's great to be connected now, especially with everything going on around us. The fact that we can't travel to see each other, but this is still nice that we have the ability to connect on a level via all this new up and coming technology.
It's actually very interesting that you said 15 years ago, because now I was going back to that time, 2005, 2006, something like that. And it was actually the time where the social media started to boom. Like it
Yeah.
was the beginning of the social media era, and how much social media have changed, since that time. And I'm seeing the changes everywhere. And yeah, you're right. We probably wouldn't be able to do that at that time. We didn't have that much connections, but we also had a little bit more uh, ability to look for stuff on different means. Like right now, it's very easy. We go up on Google, Facebook, Twitter, and we find so many different information. I remember you said one of our first episodes, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, when you said now we are totally overflowed with information. We have
Yep.
so many information that we don't know what to believe. Is it fake or not? So we just shut down because we don't know. So, and
Yeah.
that's one of the big changes that happened because of the technology surge that we've experienced in the last few years. Technology is everywhere. Technology brought communication. Technology brought overflowing of information. But, and I asked you and I asked myself too, all this super flow of information that we've received, is it worth? I mean, is it really that necessary that we have to have so many information for one single topic? It's hard to answer. Honestly, Alex, I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I asked you, but
Yeah.
don't ask
You know,
me.
it's tough because a long, long time ago, I actually used to work in the cell phone industry back when everybody had the little flip phones and the Razor was king,
Yeah,
the really thin phone, and smartphones were brand new. They were expensive to buy and they were expensive to pay monthly for. So that was definitely a big change. Now the world is at your fingertips. Everything I could possibly want is right here. And like you said, it's hard to sift through that information now because there's just too much. Before it was, yeah, go outside, pick up the paper, read about the sports teams that you missed, and world politics. That was tough because paper is really only focused here on your
exactly.
city or maybe different parts of the states like that. Now it's just everywhere. The information's at your fingertips, whether you want it or not. It's there, and it's interesting to see how companies right now are kind of, I don't want to say capitalizing on it, but kind of taking advantage of it to test and experiment with new social medias, new ways of connecting. And also, I mean, look at digital currency now. Whoever would have thought we'd be talking about digital currency? On the global level for you, technology's obviously completely revolutionized our global economy in the sense of it's a lot easier to sit here and talk to you and do business and things like that here. What's like a major change you've seen from with this pandemic? What's kind of a big change that technology's really played for some of your business?
Well, of course, I had experience with China, and it was for me a big change where, my experience in America, of course, was already good enough, 2012 until 2014, where I started to do my business there and after studying and everything. So it was good. But then I had a completely different perspective when I moved out to China in 2014, and I seen how China was still struggling with some economic downturn and improving of the production and the quality production, especially. And after a couple of years, like 2017, the cash almost completely was gone from Chinese territory, and everybody was using the phone to pay, to store money, to have a virtual wallet. And I remember when I before coming to America, when I was at university in Italy, they warned me and say, be careful because in America, even the coffee you pay with credit card. And I said, no, come on, you just give it, a dollar or so. No, yes, that's right. Someone can pay with credit card just 50 cents
Yep.
or $1. Well, in China, you don't have credit card anymore. For a lot of years, banks don't issue credit card. They just went directly from cash to virtual money. The truth is, cash and credit and debit cards still are predominant here. And I don't know
Yeah.
about the US. What do you know about the plans for the near future?
It's definitely kind of trending towards that. Right now, there actually is a shortage here in the United States of our coins because of the pandemic, because less people, it was almost kind of spun as cash is dirty. It's
Oh,
with the
oh,
virus concerns and everything, everyone's health. A lot of businesses would post signs that would say, please pay digitally. Like you said,
oh,
Samsung Pay and Apple Pay. Cryptocurrency is its whole other thing. But it's interesting to see, like how you had mentioned, Samsung, Apple, all these companies are kind of understanding that there really isn't a need physically. And ironically, just like everything else, the United States so far behind China, because in China, you said it's been a thing for a while. We're just now getting around to this here. I mean, look at artificial intelligence, autonomy, and different things like that. We have cars that are starting to drive themselves from Elon Musk and Teslas. It's fascinating to see, and it's fascinating to be in one. And it's interesting to see that we're getting to that point now. Again, from never being to China, I feel like I know we're behind. You've gotten to experience a lot more of that here. What kind of like big new things do you think are going to come, not just because of this pandemic, but just because of that huge push we have to kind of innovate more?
Well, I think another technology that's being pushed through is definitely the drones that being using for delivery goods. Like we know that Amazon and DHL, UPS, Boeing, all these big companies are trying to foster this upcoming era of drones flying all over and delivering goods. I mean, they're depicting this scenario whereby you have the big city with these little mechanical flyovers just going door to door and drop packages and everything. And of course, it's like a utopistic scenario in the sense that I don't think we will ever see a sky filled with all these drones and everything because it would cause so many problems. But we
Yep.
probably will see some of this happening. They're implementing this. It's like you said, the artificial intelligence and technology together, all leading up to a world where basically less and less human intervention because human is what? Dangerous because it's a virus carrier, dangerous because it's social, dangerous because it has emotion. So really, Alex, that's something that will affect deeply the business. Are we really ready for this type of technology? That's the question.
Yeah, and here it's definitely not gotten to that advanced of a point. Granted, we're seeing a lot more use of the drones in law enforcement, but ironically, it's being used for almost a greater good, where you have hostage situations and they're sending the flying drones into the house to try to see what they can't, or we've had robots forever dealing with different sorts of explosives like that, but we have here in the United States, the federal government works very closely with big tech. Apple is very close with, I mean, governments internationally. Look at all the problems they're having in Ireland and places like that. But you have, the CEO of a multi-million, billion-dollar company working directly with the president on not just things to benefit the economy, but who knows what else. It's good to see a push for more American made products here, at least. But you do kind of wonder, like you said, what don't we know? Are we really ready for some of this stuff? Obviously, in the US, it almost does seem like a little more of a slower playground here. But in China, with things being so advanced right now, especially because of this pandemic and everything, I think there's going to be a little bit more of a resistance to kind of jump into that future. Right now, it feels like as Americans, we're trying to just not think about that bigger potential issue that you're seeing over there, where you have the drones flying and monitoring that. And it's almost a scary thing, because here we trust that. I trust my phone that has a lot of my information. It does have my digital wallet. I have my debit card on there. I have a lot of personal information on there. I couldn't imagine and wrap my head around some of those bigger things, because it almost feels like an overload. But you kind of sit here and we almost have to start thinking about that, is where is this going to go, and how are we going to allow it, or how are we going to try and integrate versus resist?
That's a very good question. And I think part of the resistance that it's falling upon American to have this big shift in technology is the power of the dollar versus, for example, the Asian currencies that were not as powerful. Dollar is linked to a lot of the biggest stuff around, uh, for example, oil and many other stuff. So oil being the the counterpart of the US dollars, then it's a little bit difficult for America to completely cut that off and make it disappear and create a digital coin that could be backed up by the oil. And under a geopolitical point of view, as the Middle East is the heart of the future of the economy, and on one side you have the dollars who backs up the oil, on the other side you have China, who is promising Middle East to provide a lot of energy and make a massive $1 trillion project to bring all the electrical power grid onto the Middle East. It's not easy. Technology can be also a vehicle for this type of conflicts. That's why I agree with you when you ask the questions, are we really ready, and what we don't know. Well, what we don't know is certainly how much technology can orientate the decisions of countries onto what decision to make, alliances versus enemies, and also like warships of America in the South China. I mean, all this stuff are all connected, because right now the world is connected and technology is the key for everything. If we're not careful, I think, Alex, the line between technology for benefits and technology for damaging us is very fine
Yeah,
line.
absolutely. And it's going to take a lot of thought and decision making, and that cost and risk analysis with technology nowadays. It is kind of for the greater good, but we're starting to see it go in different directions, especially medically, stuff like that. We obviously want these companies to have the support of the federal governments and the worldwide governments to try to push for that greater good. But there's always going to be something that kind of counteracts it. But I think right now for technology, it's kind of trying to stick with what we're comfortable for now, and be a little cautious at how quick we are to adopt certain things coming out and just blindly accept. Well, Diego, like always, it's good to see you here. I know we're on the opposite sides here on different time zones and things like that, but it's always good to take a couple minutes every weekend to connect with you.
Same with me, Alex. Very glad to talk to you, and I'll see you soon next episode. Stay safe and have a good day.